Yeah.
Jesus Christ, guys.
Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 Pacific for about an hour or 90 minutes each day. We run it live on, well, we do 3 gun-related topics each day, different topics throughout the week. We run it live on YouTube, and we simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. We're watching the live comments that come in from the people that are watching over at Gun Channels and on YouTube. Every so often we'll take the audio and we'll post that up on iTunes as a podcast. So we encourage anybody that's listening to the show now or in the future to leave us some feedback so we know where you're listening, and the idea is to get the show to be recommended to more listeners. So we do appreciate that favor. There are 4 hosts. We are all here today. It's Bob jumping in from Canada.
Hey, glad to be here.
Then we got Daniel jumping in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
Yep, I'm here.
And we got Smeggie jumping in from Michigan.
Hey, how's everyone going today?
And I'm down here in Arizona. So let's see. Today is episode 349. It's Thursday, so we'll be talking about CCW online training. Today, our CCW topic is going to be outside versus inside. We'll be talking about gun stuff and how we value our guns, and then some training stuff. And then all the stuff we normally do on a daily basis. So before we get into the show, we usually take a break right at the beginning like this, see if anything happened overnight that's worth talking about.
Not that I know of, as we all sit here silently.
Not that I'm willing to talk about, no.
Yeah, Daniel had some
I know Matt had a show last night that I popped in near the end of, but yeah, other than that, I didn't really see anything in the news or anything like that that was gun related.
Stuff happening in Oregon we forgot to talk about yesterday. They're doing some shifty stuff up in Oregon at the last minute and without announcing it a lot. So Firearms Policy Coalition has some stuff to get people motivated to call Oregon representatives that are doing that.
Are you going to give more information during the show?
I had it in the show notes yesterday, so maybe it got pulled over to the past shows thing. But otherwise, I got the link from Knives, so if he's out there listening, maybe he's got it. I think people were talking about it on other shows today earlier too.
Was that one of those ones where they were trying to like do something last minute, like without telling the public kind of thing?
Yep, exactly. And we do not have it in the list from yesterday, so I guess not. So we'll have to find that link. Let's see. Otherwise, I got the patches today from the Old West Gun playing cards, so got those already. That's kind of cool. So everything's coming together there. I guess we can dig into the show. Nobody else has anything else. All right, so we'll get into CCW. Yeah, outside versus inside. I like to conceal carry both outside the house and inside the house.
I like the joke about carrying inside the house.
Not familiar with that one, Smeggie.
Oh, well, so my wife asked me, how come I carry inside the house? I said, Decepticons. I laughed. She laughed. The toaster laughed. I shot the toaster.
Well,
what I thought we're talking
I can
about
honestly say is, why would someone conceal carry inside the house? I open carry inside the house. I table carry inside the house. But I don't conceal carry inside the house.
I think table carry would be kind of inconvenient for going in and out of rooms, you know? Wouldn't you be banging and stuff with it?
When I'm sitting like in a chair in front of my computer and I have my gun on the table next to me, I find it quite convenient.
That's fine. If it's in your pocket, it's in your pocket. So
but it's a slow draw.
Yeah, well,
on the table, quick is an operator.
All right, you definitely will get the draw on it compared to my pocket carry, but I'm betting on not having a home invasion.
Emergency background checks law, is that the thing in Oregon?
Could have been.
I'm trying to find it on the Googles.
I guess I've seen it.
Yeah, I saw a thing that Senate Bill 719, Brian so-and-so's gun confiscation bill, is scheduled for a vote on the whole tomorrow. And then that was today, so that's coming out. That's going tomorrow.
Yeah, Thursday, July 6th, Oregon SB 17 or 719. Is that the one you're looking at?
Yeah, 719.
Yes. Would allow family members and law enforcement officials to petition the court via ex parte hearing for an extreme risk protective order. It would deprive the targeted individual of Second Amendment rights without due process or evaluation of a mental health professional. That means I said so, so it's so. That is fucking terrible.
And it's not being...
Yeah, we've talked about that one before.
It's not being done on a ballot initiative. It's not being done on a bill that went through the House and Senate in Oregon. It's just being pushed through. So, yeah, that's not...
So, you know, sister-in-law, sister, brother, brother-in-law, son, daughter, mother, father, aunt, uncle, or just police officer or ambulance driver. All have that power.
Right. Yeah, and that's
Or
one of those
will.
ones where they basically just say, "Hey, I think this person's dangerous," and it's basically you're
word.
assumed. Yeah, you're basically guilty until proven innocent type of thing. Like they just say, "Oh, okay, you're worried about this person." They take all your guns away. Then I think like within 60 days or something, like you might be able to get them back once you have like a hearing.
Yeah. It's the first and only time I'm aware of in any way, shape, or form that someone's word equals the level of a fact.
No, because there's a couple of places that do the similar thing.
Yeah, that's what it's like in Canada.
I'm sure it's supposed
in
to be
the U.S. In any way, shape, or form that someone's word equals the level of a fact. What the hell was that?
Your crazy audio thing. So yeah, it can happen when you can put somebody on a 24-hour crazy watch, right? By showing that you know them or something. I don't know how that works, but there's things where there's stuff in place, and I'm sure it's supposed to be some kind of a feel-good thing where, oh, if we can just stop one person from going crazy and hurting themselves or somebody else, but there has to be regard to the consequences, and just because it might help somebody occasionally doesn't mean that it's worth the risk. So you linked to a thing on NRA, which has a click here if you're in the state of Oregon. But I suggest even if you're not in the state of Oregon, it's worth doing something. Email, phone call. The one I was looking at was on Firearms Policy Coalition, but this one's a little quicker to read. It's just the 2 paragraphs telling you kind of summary of it.
Yeah, and I found one on off. Just something about Oregon firearms, something or other.
Yeah, that's seriously screwed up.
All right, so now we'll talk about CCW inside and outside the home. I got back to that. We got on the link, I guess. So
open carry in the home,
or is it
outside?
Inside, like CCW outside the waistband or inside the waistband? Which way are we taking it?
Oh,
I don't know which way the topic's supposed to be.
No,
I
think we can interpret it to meaning just do you carry inside your home, period, regardless of the method, and do you carry outside, whichever method is legal.
I do.
And I normally don't carry inside the house. I'm only really ever in a couple of rooms, but I normally don't. Now, if I've already been somewhere and then I'm going somewhere else, then yeah, like I'll just leave it on or whatever. But a lot of times I get home from work and then I'm hanging out there for a while, and then I'll just worry about it if I'm going back out again.
Okay. Do you keep it in an area that it's still loaded and you have ease of access to? Maybe it's in a different room right next to where you're at, but
yeah, it's normally near me. And
okay.
It does.
So,
it stays loaded. Once it's loaded, it goes in its holster and it stays that way, like unless I shoot it at the range. And that's the only time I would unload it to swap out bullets.
Once you hear that bang on your door, you've got time. You've got that 5 seconds or whatever to get to that other room.
You hope.
Yeah, you hope. I mean, if you're asleep, then you may not.
Or if the thing you hear is the door being busted down, you don't know the situation that might exist.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm just talking in generalities.
Oh yeah, I definitely acknowledge that carrying inside the house is being more prepared than what I do. I acknowledge that fact. I'm just being honest when I say I don't normally do it, although sometimes I do.
I'm not sure if it should be part of the conversation or not, but I want to throw an environmental thing out there, is that when you're home, you can't, other than the fact that you are home, you can't change your location. When you are outside, you can make the decision whether you want to go into that known convenience store that has had numerous armed robberies over the past 6 months, and you know that, or simply go that extra mile out of your way to a different one that has a different history. You have options. At home, you're at home. You can't move quickly. And I'm wondering if that plays a role at all. Probably not, but I'm just wanting to throw it out there.
What about having like a Roomba is, having a little gun robot? So then that way, wherever you are, it just follows you around with your gun and a flashlight and a cell phone. And then it could charge the cell phone right away. And the light.
So weapons light, handheld, or robot light?
Robot can have his own little robot lights.
And is the light like the kind that goes on its head, or one that it has to hold?
No, Roomba, little disc hangs around. Like an R2-D2.
Because I like those little miner's lights you put on your head.
Actually, having a headlamp isn't a bad idea. For something goes bump in the night, you can look around, see if it's a critter or something. You can both hands free still. All right, well, so is that what we're doing? CCW inside the house, we all agree. Pretty much everybody does, for the most part. At least has a gun laying around. Yep. So.
Yeah.
I would like to ask a variation of the question, is when you are CCW carrying outside the house, and then you go to a facility where it is federally not allowed with a very heavy penalty, what other options are available to you that you feel that you're at least not naked as far as protecting yourself?
Wait a minute, this is when you're traveling?
No, let's say you need to go to the post office. You have to go to the court. You have to go to the police station. Those places that are federally mandated as no carry zones.
Well, in Arizona, they have to provide a locker, or else they gotta let you in. But they can't. I think that's how it is now. They're public buildings. They're not allowed to make you keep your gun in the car. But I'm not worried if I'm going into a court. I mean, what's the odds of something happening ever? And then what's the odds of something happening in a court when you're in there? I mean, I don't go to court that often. So if I got to go in there to do something, or like the car or something, then just do whatever they want. And you got your wits about you. I'm never disarmed as long as I'm awake.
Well, one thing that does make either a police station or a building where they have criminal juries, or not criminal juries, but criminal proceedings, that you're going to have a much higher concentration of actual violent criminals than in any other location other than a jail.
Yeah, but they're also being watched like crazy.
And I don't go into those kind of, I don't think I've ever been in one of those kind of buildings except for like as a kid doing ride-alongs or something.
Well, I mean, some counties are small enough where they may have traffic court in the same building that they have criminal court. They're two different courts, but they're in the same building.
Oh, well, I don't know what you're going to want us to say. Nobody's going to carry their gun into a court or into the police station or anything like that. I mean, if they don't.
No, I understand that. I'm saying, so what can you bring that might be allowed that would give you some semblance of something?
I don't think I'm bringing anything into a court or a police station. I mean, that's probably a felony, and I want to leave. I don't want to have to stay in there. I don't think I'm bringing anything.
I guess you're thinking traditional in the box. I'm trying to say it's like an example, a stout pen. It's not much, but it's something.
I don't know if I'm to the level of hard where I got to worry about if I'm going into the court or something. Like I say, I just do my business and go on the law averages that nothing's going to happen when I'm in there. And if something does, I'm improvising.
I mean, I'm also thinking in terms of like where today we're gaining more, I won't say a lot, but we're getting more demonstrations. And it might happen to be at the court building.
Again, I'm going to go with that's never happened. And that's a lot of ifs.
Right. And honestly, like a lot of the stuff that, because we have talked about like alternative carry stuff before, like you said, tactical pens or flashlights with the little grooves in them and like all the different stuff. Any of that kind of stuff, normally when you're going into court, they're going to sit there and be like, hey, what the heck is this thing? And they're not going to let you carry that in there.
Yeah, I want to be like in and out. I don't want any kind of eyebrows raised or nothing.
Yeah. That's why you carry it.
And I understand that. And you mentioned, that's a lot of hypotheticals. But since if I want to view it that way, since the odds are so much in my favor that I'll never have to draw my gun, then I could say, well, everything I've been training on and practicing on is hypothetical and a waste of time.
No, I don't agree with you there. That's trying to pull a Yankee on us. So in real life, you're talking about an improbability 99% or 100% of the time when you're out of your house. And then some percentage even lower when you're inside your house. But now you're talking about in a courtroom or in the amount of hours that you're in a courtroom, that is definitely, hitting the green zeros, not just hitting your number on the roulette, but hitting the green zeros. That's odds within odds. So I'm willing to play odds within odds. Now, regular life, and we're not carrying our firearms strictly for ourselves. Sometimes we have to be human beings, and we need to, if we're responsible enough to carry a firearm for ourselves, then, we're there to be responsible citizens. So, whatever that means to everybody, we're carrying the guns for more than just ourselves. We're carrying it for our family and our community. So with all of that in play, there's way more odds of us ever having to use that thing than, again, specifically in a particular building, whether it be a court or any of those places. There's only a few places where we have to disarm, really, and those are pretty much the places that are the most locked down. But I agree with you. They're also potentially very stressful places. People are there under very emotional times most often. But again,
I just buddy up to a security guard and say, hey, if stuff pops off, toss me your backup gun. And then me and him tag team.
No, I think I'm looking for the exits, right? So something in that kind of situation, just know how to get the hell out of Dodge. If it's jumping out a window or running through a back room or, just get the hell out of there.
Exactly. That's the sort of thing that I was looking to pull from you or any of you, as potential answers. I'm not trying to make a case for that position at all. I'm just really trying to make a discussion.
Now, there is something that gets through metal detectors that's a little outside the box. But if you brought Bob with you and then something crazy happened, you could push Bob towards the crazy, dangerous stuff and then run.
There you go.
That's diversion / armor.
That would confuse them, I'm sure.
Bob would be all confused. What's going on? What happened?
Hey, like I say, I'm with Dano, but I would carry a nice, fresh, crisp carrot. I've seen how deadly they can be.
But anyway, that might be something for in the future, just talking about alternative carries. I think we've talked about that kind of stuff a little bit before, at least. So anyway, are we saying outside and inside is over, or we got stuff more to talk about there? They're talking about the nylon sticks and whatnot, keychain, quote unquote, things you can use to apply pressure on parts of the body that have nerves, so that small people can effectively not incapacitate, but at least make somebody leave you alone. And I think again, those things are going to give you the eyebrows, and they might. You never know. I mean, I had to go one time. What the hell did I have? Like one of those little tiny Leathermans they're Leathermans, but they're tiny. They're like the size of a key. They're really small, and it was just like a pliers and like a tiny little blade that's basically like for fingernails and stuff. It's like a tiny little blade. Anyway, they were going to make me throw that away, so I had to go back to the car to dump that. I don't want to have something like that on my keys and then have them say, go ditch it, because then I got to go back out to the car. And I figure if criminals are worth something, aren't they watching parking lots like that and seeing who goes back to their car to leave something? I mean, I don't know if that's appealing or not, but I don't know. I just don't like to risk it. I'd rather just get into the court and out.
I walk in with my keys and my wallet. Nothing else in my pockets.
No, whatever. I figured they got pens there. I'll get a piece of tape from them if I need it.
Or a whole bunch of tape if you need it.
All right, well, that seems to have concluded that one.
I think so.
So we don't try to solve everything necessarily every day. Every once in a while, as a treat, we do solve something for you. But we try to keep conversations going. So if you're doing a podcast or some kind of live show, or maybe anything, talking at work or school or church with friends, this just gives you something to talk about and to continue. So we'll move into gun stuff right now. How do you value your guns? That sounds like an interesting one. We try to do kind of a random topic on Thursdays here. So before we do, we like to take a break between the first and second segment of the show each day and feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. Gun Channels is a place we built. It's a community. It's focused on firearms. Lots of things to do over there. A lot of fun. And since it's completely run by its members, there's really no advertising or anything. It's just a bunch of people that are interested in guns, advocacy, having a good time and talking about guns. We feature a member each day. So today it's Angry American. I've had a chance to meet him. He came out to Phoenix, and Heavy and Jimmy and I all met up. We went shooting, and he was one of the people I have a chance to thumb through the Old West Guns playing cards, the prototype deck, as we were doing the campaign. And he's been active in the chats all the time. I think he's one of the, if not the main winner of the tactical pop quizzes. We haven't tallied those up in a while, but he gives answers to Dano, so he's participating on both sides of the pop quiz. Obviously, he's active in the chats. He jumps in, I think, occasionally into the actual live chats. So exactly the kind of person we built Gun Channels for. Hopefully, he'll continue to participate.
He has been a huge help on the tactical pop quiz. Huge help. As well as, he's been is clearly a knowledgeable guy, just in talking to him via chats and so forth. And I think once or twice I've talked to him in live chats as well, and is a great resource for the other members of Gun Channels. So it's great having him.
Yes, and contrary to what his name sounds like, he's actually a very pleasant fellow.
Well, he ain't out there, so he didn't hear us. There's a ringing somewhere. So that's
okay. If he's not out there, people might have a chance for the tactical pop quiz today.
There's no way of knowing when the tactical pop quiz is going to happen.
Not a single clue.
So now we'll move into the gun stuff. How do you value your guns?
You called for it, and you got it. It's time for the tactical pop quiz of the day. It's like saying somebody's name 3 times in a row. It's going to happen. You just can't stop it. So on that note, those of you over on YouTube and those of you over on gun channels, if you're ready or even around, put your cursor down in the text box, limber up your fingers, and get ready to go. Mr. Smeggie, are you ready?
I have seen all the information I need to see.
Excellent. Let's move on then. All right, I'll read the question and I'll read it twice. So here it goes. The shotgun said to have been used by Doc Holliday at the OK Corral was made by whom? And yes, we've asked a similar question in the past, and this was not it. The shotgun said to have been used by Doc Holliday at the OK Corral was made by whom?
Stoner?
Whom?
No answers. Greener? No.
Nope.
Corner shot? No.
Although Corner Shot was in Wanted, which was the movie of the day.
This is what happens when Angry or Sean are not around.
Wells Fargo? No. Taylor? No. Horace Smith? No. Taylor? No.
Taylor Swift? No. Horace Smith? No.
No. Unknown? No. It is
Agent K? No.
No. Good answer.
Parker? No.
No. Ithaca? No. Gus?
Gus?
Fender? No. How long do we wait for this to keep going?
Oh, are you getting impatient?
No, this is the 4th time we're going through the compound.
This is the tactical pop quiz, not the tactical speed race.
The Remington? No. Great Porcupine? No. H&R?
All right.
William and Moore?
William and Moore? I can't believe it. Somebody said William and Moore, and who was that person?
Dog Body
Official on the Daily Gun Channels. Dog Body
Daily
Official.
Gun Channels. .gwebs.
Dog Body Official, you are correct. It is indeed William and Moore. Congratulations. You are today's tactical pop quiz winner for today. Congratulations, Dog Body.
Yeah, way to go, man.
Yeah, look at that. He even clarified even closer. But, yep. So, Dog Body by, I'm guessing, using the excellent Google Foo, although maybe you're just this smart, that makes you the tactical hot shot of the day.
Excellent. And see, and look who was looking to end the quiz early, and then somebody came up with it.
I was going to end it.
Although
that
has happened before. Whenever we think that we might need to end it, somebody comes up with it.
I will end it. I'm not afraid to end it. I'll show you.
Oh, well, you're just that kind of a guy, giving up on your own audience.
All right, well, so that happened out of nowhere. We were about to value our guns. Pop quiz can happen at any time.
Yes, we were. Until
How much
somebody...
is a William Moore & Co. gun worth? How would I find that out?
All right, well, one way is to go to a gun shop and ask them. Another way would be to get one of the books called Blue Book of Gun Values. Another way would be to go onto the gun broker or a similar online auction place, maybe even a couple of them. And then you probably have to create an account for most of them in order to look at their finished auctions. But just like eBay, you can go in there and look at auctions that have already completed and then sort them by, the ones you're looking for, the gun you have or the gun you're thinking about buying, and then sort by the bids and see what the highest price bids were, see what the lowest price were.
Oh, well, that's a good point as far as looking at the finished auctions. I've seen people fall in that trap before where they're like, oh, I wonder how much this is worth. Oh, this person's asking $1,300. This person's asking $1,500. This person, yeah, it must be worth a couple thousand. It's like, no. Do you notice that there are 0 bids on the one that's asking $1,500? This one that sold last week went for $600. Like, just because one person has an insane value on it,
That's
you know,
and if
you have to look at the ones that actually sold.
You can look for the completed auctions, and it'll show you, like Smeggy's saying, one of them's in there every 7 days. The guy's posting it for $1,500, and then intermixed in there is the ones that actually get listed once and sell for $600 or $800 or whatever. So you gotta take a look at how many times the thing was up there and how many of them are up there. I'll look for guns sometimes and there's none. Sometimes there's like 1 or 2 guns, and then other guns like Glock 19 or something, there's gonna be pages and pages and pages of people selling the same gun. So, you know, if you only get 2 results, that's not necessarily what the gun's worth. That's just what those 2 data points are telling you. If you get 6 or 8 things that are sold that are real similar to yours, now you get a much better idea of what it might be worth.
I have a question, and you guys have kind of talked about it in generalities, but have it named specifically, and that's the different categories of value. As an example, you go to a gun store, that's the trade-in value of a gun. You go and you look at completed items, completed sales at gun broker. That's another value of the gun to the gun broker market. What other categories do you think that there are? And obviously I just named 2 of them only, but there's more than just that.
You could talk to auctions and go to gun shows and see what you can gather from there, but that's going to be a lot tougher if you don't know people. You could go to a gun show and see what kind of prices are on the tags and then haggle with some people. That is probably the best way to do it, actually, over all the various ways, especially if you've got a gun that you own and you're trying to value it, so for insurance purposes or inheritance or something. And the best thing to do is go to a gun show and talk to somebody. If you talk to somebody who just has one and you ask them about it, you might get some info. Ideally, you find somebody who's got like a collection of them or something, or is really interested in them, and they'll talk your ear off about it. That'll give you a lot more information about it, including things like how many people are out there interested in them. You know, if it's like a lever action something, you go to the show and there's 2 or 3 of them there, and you talk to somebody, you find out they're super rare, and that's why there's none of them at the show. You talk to the same 2 people about a different gun, and it might be there's none of them at the show because nobody wants them and everybody knows not to bring them to the show. So that's the kind of information you can get from real people, and then again, some concept of value if there's some of them there.
Right. Another is that, you know, we talked about completed auctions on gun broker, and that'll give you the completed sale value. But there's also looking at, and what did they post the value as, how much above what they actually got, and that might give you at least a starting point so that you don't underrate the value of your item. Did they get 20% less than they were asking for, 10% less than they were asking for? Is a reasonable place to start.
An auction site though, so you're never. It's not going to say like, oh, I really would want $1,000 for this, and then it sells for $800. You know, it's like they put the starting bid at 400, and then it goes up to 8. So that doesn't mean it's worth 4. That's what they started at.
As an example, on Gunbroker, they show after the sale not only the completed sale price, but they also show the initial posting value of what the seller was asking it start at. It gives the starting point.
Yeah, I get agree with Smeggie though. That's just completely just a preference of the seller. They may be wrong and think that it's worth 300 and it goes up to 1,200, or they just might be thinking that that's some strategy to start it at 300 because that's successful for them in the past or something. I don't know. So
you can see things that worked and things that didn't.
Well, true. But we're talking about how do you value your gun. So I guess we kind of got into like buying them or whatever, but to value them, you go to the places where they're being sold. So I guess you could watch auctions, the online auctions, and see what they, if the auction is selling just a similar type of gun, you could see what it ends up going for.
Right, and if not, I mean, I know you mentioned the blue book of guns, but like that's kind of their whole job is to do that kind of stuff. I mean, they poll like all sorts of different markets and figure out what they're selling for, and then give you a good like average or whatever. Like that's
Yeah, I don't know.
And they're pretty good at their analytics, I would think. So, I mean, I was just saying that would be a pretty trustworthy source, in my opinion.
Sometimes it is. There's things that I've seen gun shop guys who know what they're doing. They'll open up the blue book and somebody will say, "What's this?" And they're like, "Nope, that's wrong." Like they'll just know. And then I can't imagine. I don't know how the blue book. I mean, I know at some point it was all there was, and I would suspect that it almost set the prices to some extent because it was a thing that published prices, and people had nothing else to use as a reference to point at. And then people could squabble over whether it was 90% or 10%. So, you know, you had a range, and then it was just you and the seller or you and the buyer screwing around with what's the percentage on it. So where in that range are you going to settle on a price? But with the internet, that's a little, I don't know if they're working together. I don't know why Gunbroker doesn't come out with a blue book. Maybe just don't bother, but you would think that that could be like a couple of 3 reports and then printed as a PDF, and people would drool all over that. You could get all kinds of good info from a place like Gunbroker, where you get all kinds of information about how many of these kind of guns sell and how much they sell for and all that.
Right. You'd think they'd have all that data. You know, it's already on their site.
But
why can't you do
the ultimate way that I'd always say works for determining the value of a gun. So this is a gun you own and you want to get the value of it. Is your best bet is to go to a gun show, because you're going to get everybody in one room. But because it's a gun show, the prices are going to be skewed a little bit because people are either having a good show and they're in a great mood, so they're going to be better for you, or they're in it's a show's not even paying for tables and they're going to be real stingy and try to be, you know, getting the gun from you cheap or something. So, you know, you're going to have to keep that in mind when you go to a gun show. But a gun show will facilitate going to 3 or 4 different tables all in one morning and having them all appraise your gun for you. And if it's an interesting gun, they're going to be drooling over it, or at least you can tell from the people who drool over it, you know, they're going to give you a better idea of what it's really worth. The people that are looking at it as an investment are going to give you less, right? So that, or if you don't have gun shows, or like I say, the gun show isn't going to work out, just go to 3 gun shops. And so if you got 3 gun shops in the area, take a day and drive around and suggest that you're interested in selling and then maybe trading. And then that'll give you some idea, you know, whatever they're going to give you for them, average that with the 3 shops. And that's probably a pretty good idea what it's worth in your area. And that might also give you an idea of what it might cost to replace them if you're appraising them for insurance.
Assuming that those guys are resellers, aren't they only going to offer you whatever amount less than fair value is? Because they're really looking at turning it over.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know how many shops you've been to. Shops are all different, but a lot of times the shops will say, "Oh, you want to sell me this gun?" And then you're on they're on your side with you. Like, okay, let's go into this gun as partners. I'm going to need to sell this for $700. What do you want from it? You know, some shops are like that. So I'm assuming that if you go to 3 shops, or if you have more than that, you know, you'll find 3 shops that'll say, "This is what I think it's worth and what we'll put it out for. Are you willing to take this for it?" Or, you know, something like that. And I would leave it open-ended. I wouldn't go in to find out their price and say, "I've got this gun. Is it worth $600? Question mark. You know, I got this gun. What can I sell it for? Question mark. And you're right. If they just tell you what they're going to pay you for it, then I guess you have to try to gauge what kind of markup they might have in the shop. Look at a couple of guns you're familiar with, or that you've heard people talk about on gun channels or something, and find out, you know, are they right at retail? Are they a little under? Are they over?
Yeah. That's why I think using a combination of tools, like before you go to the gun show that morning or whatever, look at completed sales on Gunbroker, and then take that information into the situation you're talking about, G-Webs, and then balancing the 2.
Oh yeah, the more you do, the better, right? The more points of data you have, the better idea you got. Plus, you're going to source how many of them are out there. So if something gets stolen or broke or lost in a fire or flood, or a kid breaks it, or you lose it hunting, or whatever the hell happens to a gun, then you got an idea of where you can get new ones. And you've already kind of shopped around, so you know where to get them cheapest, ideally.
Right.
So I don't think it's a bad thing, especially when you're one of you people that only have like 10 guns or 20 guns. Like, you can still do that in a day.
Are you gun shaming people?
No, I'm just saying there's different classes of gun owners. The beginners.
Only 10 guns.
But yeah, I think one of the things too is like that's we've talked about hanging out at gun shops and kind of befriending them or whatever, and there's plenty of benefits to that. And I think one of them would be if you are just curious on the value and you're not necessarily trying to sell it to them, right? So, because if you go and be like, hey, I'm going to sell this to you, what's it worth? Like you said, they're going to be, okay, we got to add this much for our profit. It's worth this much. But if they're just your friends who happen to know a lot about guns, then, when you ask them, they'll be like, well, you could on the open market, you could probably get, whatever, 800. But, a shop's probably going to give you about 6, that type of thing. And speaking of friends who know a lot about guns, Gun Channels is a decent place to ask people too. Get to know some of the guys online and figure out who you trust, and just ask in one of the chats one day, hey, does anyone know how much this thing's worth?
We got a Q&A segment there. If you just go down the top of any channel or any page over on Gun Channels, the first one is community up there, and we got that Q&A section there. Somebody could type in a question like that, and then you're going to get all kinds of different answers and do the same thing, average up those answers, right?
Well, that's true. And I believe, is that the one where the other people can then rate the answer, saying oh yeah, I like that one?
That's true. So if somebody says like $250, everybody can just thumb that up, and you got a pretty good idea. It's probably $250. All right. Well, I don't know. Do we have anything else to add to that? How do you value your guns? I'm going to throw this out there. I
value mine a lot.
I've got a couple of guns that I care about, but I care less and less. I had a couple of guns when I was younger that I thought I was going to keep forever, and then at some point I gave the one to a kid. It was a friend of mine's kid, and I was like, all right, that one's going to go live another life with a little kid, and that's better than me having it because I never shoot it. It's just sitting there. And then I had a couple of guns that I just kind of bought for like, oh, I'm going to do this with them, or I'm going to do that with them. I never did. Started selling those things off, and then I sold a bunch of the AKs, which were just extra. Anyway, so I just want to throw that out there, that you can value them as much as you want, but don't put too much value in them. They're just guns, and most all of them are replaceable. And true, while some of them do gain in value as collectibles, let's not fool ourselves into thinking that every time we buy a gun purchase we're somehow scoring on the other end. I can guarantee that that's not the case. Sometimes, especially when you need to sell them, you don't have time to sell them under perfect circumstances, and you take a bite out of some of them. So I'm going to put that out there, that let's not value them too high. They are just tools, and they are pretty much always replaceable. Of course, except for the ones your grandpa gave you or something.
Right, and that's what I was going to say, is I tend to be a very sentimental person, so I get, psychologically attached to inanimate objects. So, yeah, I value my guns quite darn high. And that's just the way it is. So, I don't know. I've never sold a gun before, so I don't know how I would deal with that. I guess I can think of maybe a couple of them that I wouldn't be very upset if I ended up selling. But all the other ones, it's like, well, I can't sell that one. That's my first so-and-so. Or I can't sell that one. That's the one I used when my buddy was here. And blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I put value that is not monetary on my guns. But that's why I love them.
All right, so Bob doesn't get to put a value on them because he's not allowed to sell them or do anything with them. So,
well, I was trying to earlier, but yeah, I was going to say that I pretty much do what you guys are talking about. It's go online and check the values online on various sellers. But yeah, I like what Smeggie alluded to. I was thinking of that. That having a place like Gun Channels is so handy for stuff like that, because if there's one thing people are always willing to do on that channel is tell you how much your gun might or might not be worth. You have to take all that with a grain of salt, of course, but you can get some pretty good information on there.
And that's the other thing. G-Web's kind of hit on it, is that, something is only worth what someone's willing to actually give you for it. And so if it's one of those things like, man, I need a couple $100 by tomorrow, you don't have time to ask, like, maybe what it's like full worth. You just have to ask what the person next to you is going to pay you for it. So that's the other thing, is sometimes you get people they get in their head it's worth like a certain amount, and even when they are trying to sell it, you know, it takes 2 years for them to find the right person who's willing to give that much money for it. So it's all about how fast you need to unload it, or do you want to unload it, versus do you have patience? You're just like, I don't really feel like having this, and if I sell it within the next couple of years, oh well. You know, then you can be a little more picky about what your asking price is.
Have you guys touched on pawn shops yet?
No, but what Smeggie just said there made me think of, so value in a gun. I bought a 30-06 Springfield converted sporterized one when I was a kid to go deer hunting with out here, because back in the day, 30-06 belted ammo was nothing. You could just pick that up for nothing. And I always liked the idea that I'm shooting belted ammo. More than likely it was from the training planes over here in Davis-Monthan, but I always like to think that some of that was from somehow, you know, found its way back here from the wars or whatever. And I like to think that that sporterized Springfield shot a bunch of Nazis before I got it. So anyway, I had some fondness for it or whatever, and I shot, you know, I went hunting with it all the time. But good guy over on Gun Channels for a while there was just nuts about it, and I ended up trading him for what, I forget. I think for his 257 Smith. So for me, that was worth it. I mean, I had value, but had less and less for me as a hunting rifle. It was heavy and big and obnoxious. I'm more interested in maybe hunting with an AR or something, or an AK even, just because it's adequate for the little tiny deers out here. But so anyway, I was happy to pass that along, give that value right to somebody else, and anyway, I think that's part of the value of them. Being able to get enjoyment from sharing them and, you know, moving it along to somebody who's going to appreciate it. Anyway, what about
the reason I mentioned pawn shops is if let's say there's a financial need that you need the cash tomorrow or in the next 3 days, sort of a thing, is that it is an option in addition to going to a gun store and asking them if they'd be willing to buy it off you. They're going to, but they're also typically, not always, but typically going to give you the lowest price, because they're looking at it like it's a pair of shoes, it's a box of nuts and bolts, it's a fan, it's literally just a thing to them, and they don't necessarily see.
When you're pawning something, like the value that it's worth in collateral is way less than even the value if you were to sell it to them. They'll be like, all right, we'll give you a loan for this much, or you can sell it to us for this much. And you're like, oh, geez, man, like I better pay that loan back because I got like $100 for the thing.
Right, and that's something that I don't think we've ever really talked about is pawning guns. I don't mean selling them to the pawn shop. I just mean pawning them. And, you know, I've never pawned anything. I don't know what the percentage rates are, other than I hear that they're very, very high.
Yeah, it's not the best loan option.
It's not the best thing, but it's fast. And I've pawned stuff back in the day. We used to pawn our tools all the time. We would pawn like our concrete tools and then do painting, and then pawn our paint tools and then do the concrete work, get our concrete tools out. And it was almost like storage, really. It probably wasn't the best way to do business, but at the time, it was, you know, we did it. But I'm scared to do guns because if something happens, it's a dangerous juggle. And for tools, who cares? You can always replace tools. And like I say, if it's extra guns or something you just have as an investment, I guess go for it. But you're going to definitely take a bite or not. I forget what. Let's say it's a $300 thing. They'll probably give you $100, and then you got to pay them back like $150 or something. Not much, you know. It's something more, but you know, it's not like you got to pay them. You're not getting super killed, I don't think, but you do pay them a high interest rate. And if you don't pay them, then they're going to just sell that thing for $200 to somebody, and it'll go in a second. So I'm afraid that
just by comparisons, and again, I don't know how it compares. Is credit cards used to be close to 30%, but I've never done anything at a pawn shop. What would be, at least, even if it's old information, what would be an interest rate at a pawn shop?
I really don't remember. That was in the early 90s for me. the mid 90s, I guess. So you'd have to, somebody else was going to have to tell us from the chats.
Okay. I mean, I'd just be interested in comparing it to old school credit cards that they were astronomically high.
It's probably a time thing. It's probably not too bad. Like, we were doing it for a month at a time or something. But I'm sure if you get, pinched, then you can lose your stuff just because you can't pay the whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think they're predatory anymore. I mean, they are regulated, so I think they're not your best option, but I don't think they're necessarily predatory. I don't know.
Are they financially regulated or just regulated as a business?
They're regulated pretty heavily. I don't know. It's like they're saying in the chat on the YouTube side, they're not even really available in Pennsylvania. I know the city it regulates them for theft and that kind of stuff, so they have to register. At least from my experience, they have to do everything that's over $100. Anything with a serial number, they have to report to the police department. And they're going to lose all kinds of money when stolen stuff comes through. So the police department just takes it. So they got to make up for all that. Most of my experience with pawn shops is buying stuff. I mean, you buy stuff at a pawn shop for a little bit more than a thrift store, but they usually have way cooler stuff than a thrift store. I mean, if you're looking for computer stuff or DVDs or tools or guns or anything cool, they'll probably have them at I don't know if maybe towns are different. But in Tucson, we've got a pretty decent selection of pawn shops, really. And with the base and everything, with people coming in and out of town with the base, it's a pretty interesting selection of stuff sometimes. But when we're talking about value of guns, we're definitely on a national market at this point. It's no longer, whatever your local gun shops are willing to offer. It's, you do have that gun broker and other online auctions to give you a national level of interest.
And that was something that was brought up, and I don't know if I kind of touched on it as the whole, it's worth as much as someone's willing to give you. A lot of people in the chats, a couple different people were saying, it does depend on location. And then they gave a couple examples, like here in my state, so-and-so is worth a whole bunch of money, but in the other state, they have them falling out of closets. Like they're just everywhere. So it depends on if one particular item is in high demand and short supply in a certain state. Although I think that's starting to equal out a little bit just because of internet and whatnot, that you can just get it and have it shipped to your FFL or whatever. So it's equalizing a little bit because of a little more free trade, but it is still a thing. So again, if you're looking at gun broker and saying, okay, this is worth X amount of money, and you go to your local shop and they tell you something a couple hundred less than that, like don't think they're necessarily trying to rip you off or anything. It could just be that's the going rate in that area because they already have 10 of them sitting on the shelf. They don't need an 11th one. Thanks, Clay. Pawn shops are hit or miss Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. So.
All right. Well, that's valuing your gun. If you got other ideas, we get together on the second Saturday of the month, which means this Saturday. Dun, dun, dun. We'll be getting together at the old schedule, right, at the noon time, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. We get together for a while and schedule out. Looks like we'll probably go from the end of July through August, scheduling the shows out. We put a link to our Patreon supporters, so anybody's welcome to jump in and contribute. Of course, it'll be live as well, so anybody's welcome to watch and to contribute, suggest topics for the show. I got hiccups. So anyway, like I say, if we miss something here about valuing your guns, feel free to let us know at that scheduling show this weekend or in an email. Our email is dailygunshow@gmail.com. And any suggestions you might have, we will throw them in the schedule. We appreciate it.
Are you sure it's not dailygunchannels@gwebs.com?
Ha 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 ha. I got that reference.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to keep up with the chats out there too. So thanks everybody for participating in the chats. We do try to keep this show interactive. I believe the new media isn't just taking old-fashioned stuff and cramming it on the internet. It's using these tools that we have on the internet, the Hangouts like we're using here, to get people from Canada, Illinois, Michigan, and Arizona together. For a while there, we had Z coming in from Hawaii, and we've had guests on from all over the country, from California to, well, other places. And it gives us this ability to have guests or viewers watching from all over. We can post it up there, and it can be watched basically forever. It's kind of neat stuff. So that's the new media, and everyone having an ability to contribute to a conversation is what it's all about. Once we master those skills, then we'll be a force to be reckoned with. The political strategists out there will see that the gun owners have got their shit together on the internet, and will look like less and less of a viable opponent. They'll go after something like pool safety or the weather or something else that doesn't have any advocates behind it. So thanks everybody for participating in the show and moving us along towards that goal eventually. I guess with that, we can go in any direction. Do we want to go into this big long training segment, or do we want to take out one of the daily segments?
Let's crank out the movie real quick.
So we try to do a gun-related movie every day. This week, I forget who sent them in as an email, but we got these suggestions via email. So today it's the first John Wick. So try to remind people of a movie they haven't seen in a while. This one's only a few years old, so I'm sure most everybody's seen this one.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I like it. I'll give it 2 thumbs up.
I mean, the only thing I don't like about it is the dog part, but the rest of it I like.
Right. Yeah, I don't like that part either, but then again, at the same time, is that not then the perfect motivation for his character? Like, you can totally relate, because I'd be the same way. So from that part of it, it's,
But the dog was really just a plot device. It didn't have to be a dog. It could have been, what if it was his son or daughter? Or, I mean, it could have been something else that would have attracted the vast majority of the audience to his side of the sympathy argument.
Yeah, I think
sympathize.
If it was his kid, though, that would have been you don't recover from that. You don't just get it out and then move on with your life.
Well, but clearly he did not recover.
Anyway, it's an interesting movie. I guess, did you go train for that one too? Was that the point? And then he trained again for the second one? He went to
I'm not sure. And that's because he did still have pretty good gun handling skills even in the first one. Like, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people have said about it, is that it's pretty good as far as the whole realistic thing, which we were talking about the other day, like the gun fu and that kind of stuff. It's not as much gun fu as it's just like, some of it is, yeah, it's a little flashy, but a lot of it's like actually pretty good tactical stuff. Like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I'd say focusing on the gun manipulations and the gun handling, because the camera's pointed in and focusing on it, as opposed to seeing all that or assuming all that stuff happens off screen. I don't know if that's necessarily gung fu. It's when you do stuff that's outrageous and, beyond physics or whatever, that starts getting into gung fu, or like every hit's an accurate thing or something. I don't know what to call it, but I think it's almost a different thing. Like, it's I don't know, similar to Heat, or one of those movies we were talking about the other day, where they don't turn the camera off when it's time to do manipulations and maintain magazines and stuff.
Well, and that's the thing, and it's not even just that, like, it happens to be going on. Like you said, like, they zoom in to show him racking the slide or doing this, that, or the other. Like, they purposely made that part of the viewing experience. And I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, definitely. And it was marketed for that, right? That was part of the previews, and that was part of the hype. So I thought that was kind of cool too. So obviously they're either trying to cater to gun owners, or they see that catering to gun owners is attractive to everybody else at the moment. Because it obviously worked. Big movie.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the database here. My phone's being slow, but I think I remember cool guns in it. I don't know. I'm so bad at memory, so it's like if you were to ask me right now, like I have no idea what was in it, but I'm sure there was cool stuff.
So have you guys all seen it? Bob, you've seen it.
Yep. Good movie. I liked it.
So thumbs.
2 thumbs up for sure.
Dano, you've seen it.
2 thumbs up.
We're all giving it 2
for
thumbs up.
entertainment purposes.
Yep, like I say, I've given it 2 thumbs up too, except for the dog part. Everything else about it was a cool movie. What about Wick versus Reacher? The first ones.
I don't know if I've seen
Reacher. I remember it, but it's a different, because it's like the time travel thing, it's different.
Yeah, I want to go with Wick for sure.
Yeah. I think of Reacher as a combination sci-fi and dangerous weapons things.
Almost like a murder mystery, police thriller type of thing. Wick was just action, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Reacher, who did it? You did it. Who did it? To you? You did it. To you.
Well, it's a lot of Glocks in John Wick. So HK P30L, Glock 26, Browning high power, Walther P99, a Salient Arms Glock 17, a Glock 17, a Glock 19, a Glock 17 with Fab Defense, Beretta 92.
Is Wick the one where he goes into that hotel and there's the gold coins that are favors and there's like an old switchboard downstairs at this hotel?
Yes.
All right, I've got to add that.
Use your gold coins to like buy stuff.
Yeah, I got to add that to my list of. They didn't need to put all that in the movie. They could have made it cool without all that stuff. I didn't get all that.
It just was trying to show like a secret society kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Smith & Wesson 686, a Colt Python, an MP10, H&K MP5K, Kel-Tec KSG, 12-gauge double-barrel shotgun, sawed off, CA415, Ruger M77, DTA, Stealth Recon Scout, Savage 10BA, and unidentified rifle.
What about the part about burying your guns in the floor of your basement with all your gold coins?
Well, that was kind of neat. And you got to get the sledgehammer out.
Yeah, and not damage them in the process.
Well, they were in like a safe or something underneath the concrete.
Were they? I don't remember.
Yeah,
that
they weren't just like sitting on the ground. They were like in a thing.
I just remember him slamming away with the sledgehammer. But I also thought it was cool, speaking of the same movie, of how the hotel had rules and they applied to everyone no matter who you were. Like the no killing in the hotel rule.
We're going to come up with a bunch of rules like that for gun channels.
I would say no killing people on gun channels. I think that's a decent rule.
Yeah. Unless they deserve it.
Unless they deserve it.
I don't know. We'll come up with the rules later, but we'll come up with some cool rules.
Or they're a Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. Like
well, I said people.
Okay, you're right. All right, so that's the movie. Every day we try to come up with an interesting movie, something that you might not have seen in a while, something that has something to do with guns. And feel free to suggest movies. We gave you the email address before, dailygunshow@gmail.com. We got quite a few coming in. Of course, on Saturday, like I mentioned, we'll do the scheduling show. So if you want to bring us a list there, we will be happy to add them. We've got quite a few, we've been doing this show now going on 2 years, I guess, at some point. So, we've hit a lot of the standby, the standard movies. So if you want to try to throw some out there that are odd or, the fringe ones or something, ones that are foreign maybe or something, I don't know, that, might have a lot of guns in them that people don't see. I'm not trying to say like, just at the regular Blockbuster or something, then feel free. Especially if you want to jump in and talk about a movie, especially if it's one we have not seen, right? But anyway, feel free to participate in that portion of the show as well. So, gun history. I'm going to throw gun history in. Kind of a weird time to do it. If there is anything today. Oh, there is something today, isn't there? Today is, over on Instagram, I posted, oh, it's Ruger's, the day Ruger died. So William Ruger died today in 2002. Let's see if I got any. Nope, no rude comments. Usually you get a bunch of rude comments whenever something about Ruger goes up there. I guess people are being respectful for him.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you can disagree with someone, and still be like, oh, well, that kind of sucks that someone died. Like, I'm not gonna be a jerk about it.
Well, it sucks for his family. Yeah, that part.
This is interesting. In 1835. So there's no proof that Bob did this, but 1835, John Marshall, 3rd Justice of the Supreme Court, died at age 79. I'm not saying Bob had anything to do with that. But 2 days later, while tolling it in his honor in Philadelphia, the Liberty Bell cracked. And I don't know, Bob was there screwing around or something, but we do have a crack in the Liberty Bell. And it was from...
What was the name of the justice?
John Marshall, the 3rd Justice of the
okay.
Supreme Court. He had died at 79. So I never knew that. I thought it just cracked. I never even knew if I ever heard a story about what it was actually being rung when it cracked. I thought it just cracked from living there, being just sitting there. I didn't know it was from being hit. Let's see. B-29 Super Fortress bombers attack someplace in Japan using the new firebombing techniques. I don't know why that's in there. And let's see if anybody... John Paul Jones, the naval hero of the American Revolution, was born today. Nancy Reagan was born today. And the 14th Dalai Lama was also born today.
Oh, the 14th Dalai Lama?
Yep.
Yeah, my favorite was the 13th, but I mean, 14th was okay.
I like the 9th.
All right. Back to the show, guys.
Well, you got, so that was the movie. We're line through that. We have the gun of the day. So Bob basically is just sloughing his responsibilities. It's Canadian us. And normally Bob would come up with a gun of the day, but this week he laid it all on us. So Smeggie now has to come up with the gun that he would carry at his daughter's wedding.
What do you got, Smeggie?
I've been thinking about this a lot. And
I bet.
Yeah, because I can relate to it so well. But yeah, I don't know. All you guys all went with revolvers, which I thought was weird. So I don't want to go with a revolver. And
you even know about revolvers?
I don't know anything about revolvers. I don't even think they exist. Like, they're just they're ghost guns in my opinion. But I don't know.
Denier.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'm gonna go with a really shiny CZ75 that's all like engraved and stuff. And I'm borrowing this from G-Webs because I like the idea of I'm not carrying a gun because I hate my new son-in-law. I'm carrying a gun and then possibly giving it as a wedding gift or something, because you had said something like that before. And so I like the idea of open carrying something and then having it engraved, maybe having each of their names on the grip panel, on one side, and the other person's name on the other side, and the date down the slide. I'm gonna just I don't know what the word is.
Make it dedicate the gun to that day.
Yeah, exactly. Have it as a
nickel plated or what? When you said really shiny,
I don't know. Yeah,
stainless.
Something shiny. Yeah, stainless would be cool.
Come stainless, do they?
Stainless, engrave it, and buff it up.
Should make it silver plated.
Do they come stainless?
Yes. Wait,
Okay.
what gun did he say? I'm thinking revolver still.
CC-75.
75.
Oh, nobody knows.
Yankee's got a shiny one. They exist.
How do you know Smeggie?
Because I watch a
I would
YouTube
want to
channel,
use him as a
weirdo.
reference.
But anyways, and I just like CZs, and I like the idea of like engraving the date and having their names on it and all that stuff. And then, you know, because like I said, I'm hoping I don't have any animosity towards my son-in-law. But then if he ever ends up like cheating on her and breaking her heart, then my daughter's got the gun that could take care of him.
So what if your daughter is marrying Marco and he refuses to accept it because you put the date on there?
If my daughter's marrying Marco, then I'm open carrying a bazooka and 3 AKs, and I take back my statement of I'm hoping there's no animosity towards my new stepson, or not stepson, son-in-law.
And
I'm just kidding. Marco's a good guy, ish.
He's not mature enough to get married if he's still hanging on to his gym shoes.
That's true.
Yeah, maybe that should be next week. Is shoe of the day. We can invite Marco on. He brought 4 pairs of shoes for a 3-day weekend to NRA show. But anyways, no. So anyways, I really think that's a cool idea of giving the gift, because then like you could have it, and then like at the end of the night or whatever, or after you do like the daddy-daughter dance or something, and then the dude walks up, like you could hand it to him, and then, you know, they dance together or whatever. Like that works for me. So I did kind of steal that from G-Webs, but I picked a cool gun instead of a revolver.
Yeah, I can't see doing that with a CZ. So it's like, oh, let's create a family tradition here in the United States. Let's pick a gun from Iceland.
Unless you're Czechoslovakian, I don't see there's a lot of heritage there. And I don't think it really qualifies as cool. It qualifies as different for sure.
It's cool.
Versus, let's say, if you picked a Deagle. Those
are like gimmicky and stuff. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's obnoxious.
I'm sure if you wanted to be a red-blooded American, it'd be like a 1911 or something. But I'm not a huge fan of 1911s either. So I made my pick. You don't have to like it. You're not my daughter, and you're not marrying my daughter. So you have no say.
I'm not trying to change your pick. I'm just trying to make fun of it.
Yeah, you think
Well, let's see what everyone's in our audience says for tomorrow. Because that's right, folks. You have homework for tomorrow. Because Bob is...
This is not We Are the World.
But it is Bob ain't doing his job this week. You come up with your ideas for what you would wear to your daughter's wedding.
In fact, I think we should request mail-in ideas of what would be the viewer's idea of a gun, and just simply one sentence as to what it is about that gun that makes it that they picked it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So send it into dailygunshow@gmail.com with the subject line like doing Bob's work for him, something like that.
Or wedding gun. Very simple.
Bob's lazy. I think the subject should be Bob's lazy.
Either wedding gun or Bob's lazy. And then put in the
no,
gun.
you do not already have to own the gun. This is just
owned any of these guns. Yeah. It's coming up with theoreticals.
Right.
Yep. And you can pick whatever you want. If you can give more than one sentence if you want to, but at least give us one sentence as to what made it special.
Yeah, whichever gun gets the most votes, or we think is the most unique, or whatever is going to be the one that wins.
Well, I think we should mention all of them and then pick a winner type of thing.
And you will always win my admiration.
Aww.
The puns are just
Even the shiny CZ-75 got my admiration because he tried, unlike Bob.
All right. So let's try to get the last subject in today then, which looks like it's going to be training. So what
online training?
That's what it looks like. Why don't you explain it? You're the one who wrote it in here, I think.
No. That was not
paragraph book.
This was not you?
No, it was not me.
Oh, okay.
We know Bob doesn't know how to type that much, and I didn't do it.
This is for our audience.
Somebody.
What training class?
Who do we know?
Jesus Christ, he's reading the thing, guys. Let him talk.
This is for the audience then. What training classes have you taken, and would they suggest the same classes to their friends? Also, what classes would they like to take, as many instructors are hitting the road with their classes? So which classes have you guys taken? We'll be reading the comments. I don't know if Gun Channels is broke or people are just sleeping over there, but YouTube is rocking and rolling. So what classes have you taken, and would you suggest those to your friends and others? And then additionally, or alternatively, what classes would you like to take? So we talked about,
let's say there's an instructor that travels. If he came to your area, like Masad Ayub is an example, would you like to take his class? Or Clint Smith, if he traveled to your area, would you like to take one of his classes?
I guess I'll have to type it in the Gun Channel side since we're not allowed to comment on it, but...
Ooh.
Ooh?
No, I said ooh.
Yeah. Well, now that it's from an audience member, I can read it out loud, and it says, Masad Ayub, I definitely want to take one of his classes. Although this is supposed to be classes you've taken, then would recommend. I would recommend to my friends take his class, even without taking it, because of people I know who have taken it, who have recommended it to me. So if Masad is in your area, go take that class.
And Masad does travel regularly. So we have two other answers. One is Clint Smith, if he's on the road, of course. And I don't think I even need to explain that one. Another one, Moon Food, also known as Autoloader, over on Instagram, put in Kyle DeFore. I've heard of the name, but I don't really know exactly what he's known for. Or any of you guys?
Mm-mm.
Says DB tested him out. He's good to go.
Yep. It says he's a professional shooter who teaches firearms and tactics to military, law enforcement, and civilians, specializing in pistol, carbine, urban sniper, and CQB. He gained his knowledge from decorated combat service in multiple war fronts as a special operator, and is one of the first and premier tactical trainers in the world. An active motorcyclist, hunter, climber, runner, and waterman. He can be seen on multiple TV shows, magazines, websites, and on ranges worldwide.
And I'm not sure that GTG is good to go. I think that's Grand Theft Golf Cart. But
yeah, DB has real high good things to say about that class, and it was I think the best way to sum it up is it's to the point. So DB has taken stuff that is basically to the point, isn't a bunch of like, you can say you've taken a class with so and so. There's a couple of people out there who the content isn't emphasized as much as the fact that you've taken a class with them. And this one, I think it's more of the, well, I know it's more of the content and the real life nature, or the like down and dirty aspect of it. It's just to the point, and like I say, DB's had real good things to say about it. All right, so down for online training, that's weird. So Tony over on the YouTube side talked about Personal Defense Network. Is that Pincus? I was thinking he meant the online gunsmithing school, STI, that he's in. But now he says, and I was reading it, Personal Defense Network is Pincus, I think. Steadily saying I've taken 0, but I would like a defensive handgun and a shotgun training and a medical. I can definitely agree with you on the handgun and the medical. Al saying it's too poor to take classes. I supplement range with drawing and dry fire at home, best I can do. Yeah, I mean, training isn't necessarily for I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I was going to say some of the training, like carbine training, isn't something that you necessarily are going to use on a day-to-day basis. Some of the better pistol classes will give you some insight as to more than just the elements of shooting a gun. You know, just insight into the whole situation of a lethal force incident. And those you can't really duplicate with practice or with dry fire or with even range time. Those are experiences that I guess it's possible to get from like a DVD or something, but you know, those are the kind of insights that take sitting there and listening to somebody who does that for a living. Clovertac saying he's taken NRA RSO in reloading, and then the AHA said 4-H, American Health Association, CPR and outdoor first aid, and multiple state youth coach and instructor. That's a good point. Getting so we're talking, what are we talking? What training would they take? So I don't know. Are we getting anything from the YouTube? So the gun channel side? No. So I'm going to take a break there from what Clover's saying and reiterate that taking medical training is a great idea. Being aware of what to do in an emergency, you're an asset to any range that you set foot on. And just for your own safety and then the safety of your close friends and family, of course, having had some experience, even if it's in a training session, with what to do in an emergency, like an emergency where you're bleeding out, where you have, you know, crucial time situation involved, then you know, that could really literally mean life or death if you're, you know, just not flustered, if you've experienced it just a little bit and you have a direction in which way to go. That's an excellent point, and not enough people consider firearm, or I mean medical training, as part of a firearm skill set. And I don't necessarily mean tactical medical training, which is a great idea to try, but just the CPR and the basic responder stuff.
Right, and that's type of stuff that you're more likely to use, you know, in a car accident or something. Anyway, I mean, that's just good knowledge to have.
Somebody does something at work or at school or at church, and yeah, you can. That's the kind of stuff that's just handy to be in a help.
I think of it as the other side of the coin of protecting yourself and your family. Is you know, yes, we all carry firearms to protect ourselves and our family, but the other half is, what if your family does get shot? Having those skills can again save your family. So it's the other side of the same coin.
And then Tony's saying, we were talking about online. We were kidding about that because for some reason, like for 3 weeks in a row or something, we had online training in there. So that's just a joke now.
Well, he also was saying, though, Arson Tony, that he took 8 NRA courses with Nathan Goody, who's an excellent NRA instructor. So I don't know if that's someone who travels for the NRA or is just local to him or something, but I guess if you see that name, you know it's got Tony's sticker of approval.
Clovertac is saying he'd like to do some long range shooting. Look for Nagadocious, Paul Howe, I think. You got some opportunity right there near you, kind of near you. Steadily saying he'd try Vickers, Jaeger, Costa, and Pincus. I've personally experienced training with Jaeger and Costa, and I can't give them both. Well, Costa is a little bit, I don't think everybody needs to shoot with Costa, but if you're experiencing classes and you enjoy it, Chris is a great guy, and he's got interesting perspective on it all. He shoots a little differently than other people. I wouldn't necessarily call it like critical, but if you're creating a skill set, if you're creating a, you know, a set of techniques and skills to make your shooting better, then include it, because he is a good shooter. He's very fast. And then Jaeger is more like we were talking about with that other one, down and dirty, like to the point, not wasting a bunch of your time with flash and sizzle. It's just literally everything you need. That's why it's in my top 3 or even my top 2 like classes to take, is something with from tactical response.
Well, and going back to the long range thing, I've been seeing videos with oh my god, I forget his name now. Something like T-Rex or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about. I was just talking about him the other day, and someone corrected me what his name was. Tiberosaurus Rex or something.
Yeah, Jaeger did a video with him, which helped, promote, I guess, both of them from each other's channels.
Right, and from what I hear, like he did, it's like the first time he did like a little like seminar or something. I think they brought in other people too or whatever. And from what it sounds like is he's gonna start doing that now. And every time I've mentioned his name, once I get it correct, it's something like that. I just remember the T-Rex part of it. It sounds like he's gonna start like teaching those types of seminars or classes like on a more regular basis. So if you want, as far as the long range thing goes, from what I hear, this dude knows how to shoot long range. And he's a really good explainer of stuff, unlike myself.
Yeah, and if you're up in Canada, Ken Furlong, Canadian Forces sniper, he was I think the first guy to get a record in Afghanistan at something like 2.2 kilometers. He teaches a long-range shooting class here in Canada.
And where does he teach at, Bob?
Other
than in the country of Canada.
He's in Alberta. I think out of Calgary.
All right. Well,
I don't think anyone in Canada listens to this show.
Not forgetting any other suggestions. Tony saying he has instructor. Let's see, student and instructor NRA courses for basic pistol, basic rifle, personal protection inside the home, personal protection outside the home, and range safety officer. Those are handy. Honestly, the NRA, everybody likes to complain about how they don't do enough for this or that, or they whatever. But they definitely have a lot of time and investment in the education aspect of it, and they do pretty decent work. It's a little dry, but it's complete, and it's definitely honed. So if you have an opportunity to take the NRA stuff, it's worth it. And additionally, if you have an opportunity to take NRA instructor, it's an interesting credential to have, and it makes some people pay attention to what you're offering if you're trying to get information across or whatever. Being a friend who has had some training is one thing, but having been deemed an instructor by the NRA, it's just a credential. It gives that air that people will tend to assume, okay, you've earned something, you went out of your way to be able to teach this. So that side of it's handy. It's not like it's a free ticket. People don't just listen to everything you say after that, but it is a credential. But it is handy. They do teach you some good techniques. If you've never taken classes on instructing before, it's valuable. And it is done in a basic way, but it's done in a way that it gives you an introduction, not just to the curriculum, which you probably know backwards and forwards anyway, the gun stuff, but it gives you that introduction to teaching. And then I think that can be useful, and you can apply that all over the place, whether it's in your own YouTube videos or in podcasts or just teaching a kid, something else in life, how to ride a bike or drive a car or something. Like, it gives you a good way to approach getting information to people. And that's, I don't know how else you would get that kind of instruction. Maybe go into some kind of continuing education at a college or something, but this is on the topic of guns, so you're not learning something from some college. You're just getting more gun info, and like I say, a credential when you're all done. It's not inexpensive. I don't know what Tony and CloverTac were paying, but I think my credentials ended up costing me like $500, or they would have cost like $500. So it's an investment potentially. Or if you ever want to talk about it, you can start doing your own online content, and then you can do things in trade, like promote the people that are doing that training and build websites for them and help get the word out about them. And then a lot of times you can trade to get some of those opportunities. Anytime you want to talk about stuff like that, head over to Gun Channels and ask about it.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so is Yankee on tonight? It's every other week. Didn't we do it last week?
Right, but is he doing his like Yankee only where he just answers questions or whatever? He
Well,
might
that's
be.
I guess. We're pretty sure we were all on last week. So if Yankee's doing anything, it'll be that. But people are asking about it. I think Tack probably started a minute ago, or else he's about to start in 20 minutes.
Yeah, he's about to start.
I guess we're done with that topic. We'll get into gun channels tonight. Today's Thursday, so I don't know if I'll be able to do an AK podcast tonight. I'm not really prepared to do one tonight, so I'll probably wait till a little bit. And then I guess that's it tonight. Am I forgetting anything? Tack, doing Gun News Weekly, and maybe Yankee. I think Matt does a Patreon show on Thursdays occasionally too, so Never Enough Ammo might be doing something tonight. I know tomorrow Jimmy will be back with Early Watch. That's a long format show in the mornings, basically 8 hours leading up to this show. So you can tune into gun channels pretty much anytime during the midday, morning all the way through midday, and find something to listen to. It's a semi-formatted show with quite a bit of structure and a couple of 3 or 4 hosts at a time usually. And then people jump in. You're welcome to jump in and be part of the show. Of course, a lot of people are at work or doing stuff, so they're part of the show in the text chat. But it's always a lot of fun, and the topics go all over the place because it's a very long show each day. So feel free to jump into that. And I don't know. I think we're done.
Well, did we do gun shop of the day?
We never did do a gun shop, and that's half the reason we do this show. So we don't have one listed here. Does anybody have one?
I put one in.
Oh, great.
Because back in the day when we were asking about emails, Artisan Tony said he sent a gun shop in a year ago and has never heard it. So I don't know. I don't check the emails. I'm sure it just got shuffled down or whatever. So might as well do it today. And that was Big Daddy's Gun Shop. I put a link to their website in the show notes as well.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know. I'm trying to find like a about us or something, you know.
Oh, I like the name. Big Daddy's Gun Shop.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is this like, are they like just an online thing or something? Well, it says excellent place to go.
Where is it? In Tennessee?
That's why I don't know. Maybe Tony can add some insight on this. I put it in there for you, buddy, because he was saying it, but
I'm muted. So it's in Gainesville, Florida. So I've got it up on my screen here. So this is probably where Tony went down. I don't know where Gainesville is, but this might be where Tony went down to do those NRA classes when he did them. I think he went down to Florida to do that.
Oh, cool.
That far down? I thought he went over here to like Pensacola. Oh, that's not that far. Chattanooga, I guess.
They definitely sell stuff on the internet, though. I mean, that's what their main page is all talking about. Yeah, I'm not seeing any like about us or anything. Like I'd like to see a little, like history or some pictures or something.
Yeah, they got to contact us, and a gunboat is for your industry's effort. I don't know what that is. There's a little video here.
Hi, my name's Tony McKnight. Along with my wife Sherry, we created BigDaddyGuns.com in order to fill a need that we saw in this industry. We wanted a friendly environment where we could come and we could get good value, wonderful customer service, and knowledgeable staff that could tell us what we needed and what to do with it. We created Big Daddy Guns 2 years ago in order to address that need, and it's been a great experience ever since. Thanks for shopping with Big Daddy Guns, and we hope you'll come back again soon.
There you go.
Yeah, very cool.
So I don't know if Tony's telling us anything about it over there.
He's saying the one he was in was in Tennessee. So I guess there were multiple locations.
Or a different gun shop.
I guess that's possible.
Same name.
Big Daddy's Outdoors, Bridgeport, Alabama. Big Daddy's Gun Store, Facebook, Loudon, Tennessee. This is probably the one. I don't have a website listed, so looks like it's a retail store in Loudon, Tennessee. And let's see if we got some pictures. So you got a free extra Florida gun shop in there for the price of one. We got this orange sky. Is that a sky?
Well, that's interesting.
What's that? There you go. Big Daddy Gun Store. Kind of like that. Big Daddy. Shoot 'em.
I was talking about that brand of ammo the other day.
Which stuff?
Or that one that's 22 ammo the alligator dude.
Yep. It's spelled
Like
CHOOTIM. Shoot 'em.
Uh-oh. G-Web's going shopping.
No. Just looking. I thought it was a Desert Eagle. Or I mean a Auto Mag. Because of the rib on there. Anyway, it looks like they got a lot of stuff on the Facebook, that's for sure. And I'm guessing it's in Tennessee. Because we looked it up and it's in Tennessee.
Now Tony's saying, no, it was the one in Bridgeport, Alabama.
Seriously?
Come on, man. Maybe this is why we didn't pick your store, Tony. You can't keep your story straight.
Now, all I want to know is Loudon East, West, or Middle Tennessee? And by West...
Yeah, so it was Big Daddy's Outdoors.
That city on the river.
Oh, no, it's central. I would say it's between Nashville and Knoxville. That's central.
I think in Nashville is more central, but what do I know?
Well, I mean, it's a super long state, so
right. It's like Illinois turned sideways, except better.
But then it's near on this road is going to be Athens. You know why Athens, Tennessee? It's a big deal.
Fort Knox?
No, that would be Kentucky.
Oh.
Athens, Tennessee was the Battle of Athens. It was a disagreement in some voting and some World War II vets or Civil War vets, I forget, picked up arms and challenged crooked vote. Anyway, interesting little piece of American history there.
Memphis is the Chicago of Tennessee.
Okay. Kind of pick it up and turn it lengthwise. They've got a chunk of Mississippi River on one border. They got a lot more lakes. A lot more lakes.
Oh, yeah. Lots of lakes and rivers.
Are these all natural, though, or were these all the TVA that made them all?
Some of them are built up from dams. Some of them are original, but they're bigger than they used to be because of dams.
Okay. Anyway, so there's a little side stuff over there. TN Outdoors 9 told them to go there. Right on.
Sounds cool.
Always good to mention Tommy.
Yeah.
All right.
He's saying the one in Bridgeport is closer to him, so okay. So that one's a chain. Anyway, we try to feature a gun shop every day, so appreciate the heads up on that one, Tony. Thanks for sending it in before. Eventually, we'll find the right one. Maybe we will put the Alabama one in here as an additional day to talk about it. But eventually, we'll be here on the road here, hopefully in a couple of weeks, really, and looking at new gun shops every single day. I guess since I got the thing up, I don't know unless you guys are in a big hurry. I'm going to talk about the tour just real quick.
Go right ahead.
And I'll screen share at some point here. And then, bang, I think I'm screen sharing. So we're going to be heading out to Tucson and take a couple of days to get over to San Antonio. We're going to hang out with Edge for a bit there. And I'm not sure if I'll check out the Alamo. It's been a long time since I've seen the Alamo, but it's kind of obligatory. I think I probably should, since I'm doing the Old West Guns playing card deck, right? So won't have the cards yet, but I'll head out to San Antonio, then head up towards, well, to Dallas and watch the cards being printed, and then spend a couple of days. I was already talking to Clover Tack. We're talking about going to a range out here and meeting up. And No lives out here. Nathan lives out here. Flippy lives out here. Sean Honery is down here a ways, so I don't know what kind of travel distance we're really talking about. But anyway, I'll fart around Dallas for a few days, so I'm sure there's got to be some good gun shops. Clover Tack told me about the Texas Rangers Museum in Waco. So I wanted to see Waco anyway, just because of the whole, I don't know if I've ever driven through Waco before. And did you go through Waco, Bob? You probably did.
Yep.
Probably about 70 miles an hour without stopping. But there's a Texas Rangers Museum there, so I'm gonna check that out. So anyway, I'm telling you the route because we're looking for any interesting, unique gun shops along the way. After Dallas, I'll head up towards the museum in Tulsa. So I'll spend some time up there. We got P226 Nut. Some other people live up in that neck of the woods, depending on what Foose is doing. He's just a couple hours drive over there, so I could go over that way, or he could come over this way, or we can meet in the middle or something. Then I'll head out of Tulsa towards Colorado, but I'm going to stop in Dodge City. So that'll take us through this corner of Kansas. If anybody knows any interesting stuff over there, or in the bottom part of Colorado here. Me and Bob went to this place in Colorado, but I've never been to Colorado before, except for that little piece. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of the plains, I guess, in Colorado. And then we're going to go to that gun shop in, not Pueblo, but in Colorado Springs that everybody talks about, that Dragon guy. Hopefully we'll get into there and take a tour. There's got to be some other.
I got a quick question. Is that part of Colorado plains or desert?
That's a good question. I've never been in Colorado, so I don't know. I've been in Kansas before somehow, but never in Colorado. So I'm guessing it's plains. From what I understand, I'm assuming it's just like the plains part of Red Dawn, right? Which is going to look like kind of like the top of New Mexico, I guess. So sort of scruffy. There's some trees here and there, but it seemed really flat. When we went up to here, it got really flat. So I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see that. I know Kansas is flat, right? So I'm guessing it'll just be flat, 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 nothing. I'm going to go to Pueblo, Colorado, just because that's where the route takes me. But remember those things that you could like write to Pueblo, Colorado, and they would send you free pamphlets and stuff? I kind of want to drive in front of that place just to see what it is. I don't remember the address anymore, but I know if I thought about it for a second, I'm sure that address is, brainwashed into us. Anyway, what did I lose my route? What happened?
No, I remember seeing those ads up here in Canada, for God's sakes.
So anyway, that's kind of a neat thing there. But then, so look, we're going to be looking for any kind of tips on stuff through Colorado. Like I said, I've never been before. And I've been to Wyoming. We're going to head up to the Cody, Wyoming, or the Buffalo Bill Museum in Cody. And I've done that route before, so I'm looking forward to seeing Wyoming again. And anybody that knows anything interesting up there, then we'll head.
Is that where the Caldera is?
Caldera
in the park?
You mean Yellowstone and the geysers and all that? Yeah, I guess. I went up there to fight fires, and I didn't sightsee. And then I drove through there after, and we didn't sightsee. We were driving through at night, so I don't know. I've never actually been in Yellowstone stuff. So anyway, again, any interesting gun shops up there? There's got to be good ones in Wyoming. Then down to Salt Lake City, we'll check out the museum there. The Browning Museum again, go lay hands on all the factories. That's always fun. Bob, did you say there's a range in one of the factories now, like a restaurant? One of the factories turned into a restaurant, but there's still a range or something?
Yeah, I think that's what Dark Horse was telling me. So
I'll meet up with the dead Dark Horse. And I heard from
Dark Horse.
Lily Boy Scout that the jetty is open, and I think that is over here somewhere. Have you heard of the spiral jetty before?
Nope.
So some artiste went out into the Salt Lake and made this thing called the spiral jetty, and I don't know exactly where it is. I think you can see it from space. It's way farther south than this. So anyway, it's just this weird like thing that sticks out into the Salt Lake, and when it's low enough, you can go out on it. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it. I guess I could type it in here, but then I'd lose the rest of my map maybe.
Was it made like back in the olden days, or?
That's a good
nowadays, the Corps of Engineers won't let you do shit.
No, yeah, it had to be done before that because this is just some guy that went out. Maybe he got permission. I don't necessarily know if I know the story of it. Is this it? Man, the thing in this picture looks empty. I thought you could see it from space, but I also thought the lake was way bigger than this. So anyway, I won't be able to find it here, but somewhere in here there's this thing called Smeggie. I know I missed it last time we were there because we were there with flying up there, so I didn't really have a car to drive around. So hopefully we'll go to the NAA museum, which is down here someplace, and get another tour there. There's lots of cool gun shops in here, so hopefully we'll get some guidance, and surplus stores. We missed a lot of the surplus stores because we were only there for the weekend, and most everything's closed on Sunday, so I'll be sure to get there during the week. Then I can flip it back to a map. I don't know if there's anything in Utah, but people can give us some heads up if there is. Head down to Vegas, do a run of the gun shops in Vegas, and then head back to through Phoenix back to Tucson. So what we're looking for is anybody that might know interesting gun shops along the way, museums along the way, or even if it's something like a VFW hall or something that has an interesting memorial on the wall, or an art museum that has an interesting collection of engraved guns. That happens quite a bit, or something like that. If you know of it, then let us know. You can always email the show at dailygunshow@gmail.com. But we'll be doing more band chats, and we'll be doing some chats specific to the tour. And of course, we'll be keeping you updated in here all the time. But hopefully, again, we're going to use the interactive nature of the internet here and this new media, and our audience will be as involved as possible to make sure that each day we're coming to you live from someplace cool and checking out all the little forgotten or unknown interesting gun shops out there.
Yep, should be very cool.
All right. Well, I guess we're at the 2-hour mark, so we're getting, I don't know if that's a good comment or a bad comment, but you got twice as much gun show our daily gun show today. I think that's it, right? We talked about what's coming up on Gun Channels today. Did we talk about tomorrow? It's Friday, so gun tech. We'll talk about accessories for plinking, long range, and hunting. We don't talk about that enough. The gun biz, what to do when gun companies do anti-2A efforts. So we'll talk about boycotting tomorrow, and then alternative.
The only true protest.
The most effective and best protest you can do. Then we'll talk about alternative gun topics, securing your home, and I'll leave it at that because it goes on and on. So a couple of topics like that. We'll talk about The Accountant. That's the movie tomorrow, and of course the gun shop of the day and the movie or the gun of the day and all the other stuff that we talk about. Actually, tomorrow's your gun of the day. So you all have that homework that Smeggie talked about. And I think that's it.
Indeed. Yell us those guns. Well, yeah, so on that point, I guess we're done. So
and I'll be making cold, hard electronic cash.
All right, down. All right, so we like to end our show with a quote. This one will be by Thomas Paine. I think you must have put this in here, Dano. So anyway, before that, I'd like to remind everybody, please like, share, and subscribe this podcast. Let's get the word out. So on that, we'll just do our quote here. Thomas Paine. To argue with a man who has renounced the use and authority of reason and whose philosophy consists in holding humanity in contempt is like administering medicine to the dead or endeavoring to convert an atheist by scripture. So in those words, I'd like to say thanks to everybody for watching and listening. We'll see you all tomorrow.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.